Hey everyone, it's Alexander Robinson. Welcome to the channel, and this is my retro review for The Wolfman, which came out in 1941 and stars Lon Chaney Jr. as the title monster. Lon Chaney Jr. plays Larry Talbot, who is returning to his home of Wales to basically bury his brother and make amends with his father, played by Claude. However, one night while he's out and about with a woman who owns a shop in town, played by Evelyn Ankers, Talbot gets attacked by a wolf, and because Larry Talbot got attacked by this wolf, he now carries a mark and turns into a werewolf every night. And it's basically this big hunt in the entire town to try to track down this animal, and this leaves Larry in a lot of stress because he is in fact that animal. We have now reached the second to last monster of this retro review series. Now I want to make something perfectly clear. I understand that there are two other movies featured in the Wolfman Blu-ray set, which is Werewolf of London from 1935 and She-Wolf of London from 1946. As far as I know, those two movies are not considered part of the actual Wolfman franchise, especially considering Werewolf of London predates the Wolfman, so I will not be reviewing those, for the simple reason that they're not connected to Lon Chaney Jr.'s Wolfman. And also, we're in the last week of October. I clearly bit off more than I could chew with this retro review series, which is going to spill into November, by the way. Was that a werewolf pun? Who cares? Let's move on. I have seen this movie a handful of times. The first time I saw it was in theaters, at the old LACMA theater, and I remember it being good, didn't really love it, and then I rewatched the movie after seeing Knowles' version from earlier this year, and it holds up very well. So I rewatched the movie a third time in prep for this review, and there's a lot to really love about The Wolfman. First of all, a little context for when this movie came out, because I've been jumping around through all these monsters throughout the years, that I need to establish that The Wolfman is part of Universal's second phase of their Universal Monster run. The first official run was From Dracula to Dracula's Daughter, and the movie that kicked off their second run was Son of Frankenstein, and The Wolfman is the only movie in this second run that is original in the sense that it's a new monster, and it's not based off a pre-existing property like Dracula, Frankenstein, and the Invisible Man were. The Wolfman is completely original, has a great sense of atmosphere to it, and is single-handedly responsible for establishing the lore and the rules when it comes to werewolves. You become a werewolf if you're bitten by a werewolf. A werewolf can be killed by a piece of silver. Those are all rules that were established with this movie and have continued throughout the decade. The only piece of werewolf mythology that was actually not introduced in this movie, but the next one, Frankenstein Meets the Wolfman, is that you turn into a werewolf when the full moon shows. In this movie, it's simply every night he turns into a wolf. So it's really fascinating to watch this movie and kind of go into the mindset of what it was like to see the movie back then, not knowing that this would basically set the precedent for all wolf movies to follow. And I just love the atmosphere of the movie. It has a creepy look to it. There's that forest that is always covered in a thick layer of fog. In terms of giving off a spooky Halloween vibe, this forest set is as good as it gets. There's also the incredible makeup job by Jack Pierce. The design of the Wolfman is very simple, but so iconic. And as much as Lon Chaney Jr. hated the makeup process, he really did show some dedication to this role, and he's great as Larry Talbot. I've been critical of Lon Chaney's other performances as other Universal monsters, like I didn't think he worked as Count Alucard or Dracula, whatever that movie wants to call him, and I didn't think he worked well as the Frankenstein monster or the mummy Karis, but those two I can excuse him for because he really wasn't given a whole lot to do, and given what the script demanded of him, he wasn't really allowed to really show off his acting chops. With the Wolfman, while he's not on the level of Boris Karloff, Claude Rains, or Bela Lugosi, he does a good job giving off a sense of nervous energy when people are trying to figure out who's behind all these murders, and that leads to Larry Talbot, and people don't really buy into the fact that he turns into a wolf. So he does a good job for this role, and what makes him unique compared to all the other Universal monsters is that he's the only one to play the Wolfman. Dracula, Frankenstein's monster, and the mummy Karis were all played by other actors. The Wolfman, Larry Talbot, was played by Lon Chaney Jr. from this movie all the way up until Abbott and Costello meet Frankenstein. So even though I've had my criticism of Lon Chaney Jr. in the other Universal monster roles, there's nothing that I can say that'll take away how important he was to the Wolfman's success. If there were any issues I had with Lon Chaney Jr.'s performance, it's that you don't buy for a second that he grew up in Wales, because he has no accent whatsoever. But at the same time, I do have to take into consideration that movies back then, they don't really dedicate to an authentic accent if they're in a European country. So like France or Germany, sometimes they'll just have an English accent. But even then, you kind of have to stretch a bit to buy into the fact that Larry Talbot is from Wales. And another issue I had is that his relationship with Evelyn Ankers, who plays Gwen, is non-existent. These two have no chemistry whatsoever. And the way Larry Talbot first sees Gwen, where he's looking through a telescope into her window, is just straight up creepy. And when he goes to her shop, I'm just like, oh no, stop, Larry, just stop it. Apparently both Lon Chaney Jr. and Evelyn Ankers did not get along well on set, and you can clearly tell considering that these two characters have no chemistry whatsoever. But it's also weird considering that both of them would be in Ghost of Frankenstein and Son of Dracula. Either they worked something out, or at the time they were under contract to make these certain movies, whatever the studio put them in. It's probably the latter. But even despite all that, all the actors are really good. I talked about Lon Chaney Jr. Evelyn Ankers, despite her lack of chemistry with Chaney, is good in the movie. Claude Rains is fantastic as always. And even though Bela Lugosi is not in the movie for very long, his role as Bela, the fortune teller that bites Larry Talbot, is pretty good. I mean, he doesn't really disappoint in any movie he's in. Compared to Dracula, Igor, and the Frankenstein monster, which we'll talk about next time, his performance as Bela is very different. Like, Bela Lugosi does have a wide range when it comes to playing different characters in this franchise. And finally, you have Maria Ouspenskaya as Mileva, the gypsy fortune teller that basically tells Larry Talbot everything about being a werewolf, what consequences come with it, and how to stop the werewolfism. She's really great, and that specific character as well would become a cliche in other movies that involve a gypsy fortune teller. To be honest, The Wolfman kind of ranges between my least favorite or second least favorite of the essential Universal monster movies. It's in competition with The Mummy for the bottom, but it's still really good regardless. I love the look of this movie. That foggy wood set is incredible. The makeup job is iconic. The music is also fantastic, and a score that I think may have been some sort of influence for Danny Elfman, considering that you hear bits of music that sounds like Elfman's Batman theme. And that's not surprising considering that Danny Elfman went on to score the 2010 remake and all of Dark Universe at Epic Universe. I would say this is worth seeing in your lifetime. Even though it may not be my favorite of the classic Universal monster films, it's still a classic in its own right and an important one if you're a fan of werewolf films. And there you go, that's my review for The Wolfman. I hope you enjoyed it. Now, the other thing that makes the Wolfman character unique, outside of only being played by one actor, is that he never actually got a sequel. All the quote-unquote sequels involving the Wolfman are actually just crossover movies, including the next one, Frankenstein Meets the Wolfman, which may actually be the very first crossover movie ever, and that's a review for next time. So thank you guys so much for watching this review, and I want to give a special thank you to my subscribers and YouTube members right over here. You guys are the reason why this channel continues to grow every day, and if you want to help to financially support the channel, you could do so via YouTube memberships for as little as $1.99 a month. But until next time, I want to know what you guys think about The Wolfman. If you've seen it, whatever your opinion may be, let me know in the comments below. Don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the bell button to get notifications. If you want to find me elsewhere on the internet, you can find me on these social media platforms and my theme park and travel channel right here on YouTube. I'll see you guys in the next video, but until then, have a good day and take care of yourselves.